Hi, my name is Rashid Busari, the founder of Bradlocks EdTech. We are an EdTech company that focused on delivering practical, affordable, and career-enhancing online experiences that help individuals and organizations solve real-world problems. Our courses are carefully designed to bridge the gap between academic knowledge and practical application. Whether you're a student writing a thesis, a lecturer conducting research, our programs provide the tools, knowledge, and confidence you need to succeed. The topic for today is how to write a perfect abstract for a dissertation, thesis, and journal article in 15 minutes. A step by step guide with practical example. Welcome to Module 4, Writing the Abstract, the Academic Shop Window. In this module, we are going to discuss one of the most important sections of a research study: journal article, thesis, dissertation, conference paper, or technical report, which is called the abstract. Many scholars spend months, sometimes years, conducting research. They collect data, analyze findings, write hundreds of pages, and develop valuable insights. Yet, despite all that effort, many students receive very little attention. And the reason is because the abstract failed to attract readers. So your abstract is like a window to the art of your study. So let's look at this. Think about your own behavior when searching for academic articles on Google Scholar, Scopus, Web of Science, Semantic Scholar, or ResearchGate. What is the first thing you read? The first thing you read when you open any of these search engine is the abstract, because the abstract will give you a summary of what the whole study or the whole article is all about. Hence, most readers never go beyond the abstract unless it convinces them that the study is relevant. That is why I call the abstract the academic shop window. Just as customers look through a shop window before deciding whether to enter a store, researchers look through the abstract before deciding whether to read the full paper. In short, a weak abstract can hide a great study, while a strong abstract can amplify the visibility and the impact of your study. By the end of this module, you will know exactly how to write a professional, publishable, and academically optimized abstract. So, the learning pain points. The reason why this module is organized is to solve the following learning pain points. One, some abstracts are written as introduction rather than standalone summaries. A lot of abstracts, people write abstracts like an introduction without identifying the key component that makes an abstract a publishable one, which are the purpose, methods, findings, and implications. Then abstracts too long, too vague, or too technical for the target journal. Most journals have requirements in relation to number of words that should be in an abstract. Most times the word ranges between 150 to 350 words, depending on the requirement of the journal or requirement of the institution, which is the university. Then professionals writing abstracts that omit methodology entirely, difficulty in searching for your paper in web search engines. At the end of this session, you should be able to: one, define an abstract and explain its purpose, differentiate between the structured and unstructured abstracts, which is the types of abstracts. You should be able to know the abstract writing process, apply the BOMRC framework, uh, then align your abstracts with journal and indexing standard, use keywords effectively for academic visibility, then avoid common abstract writing errors. So we are going into the main section of the course. Let us begin with the most fundamental question, which is: what exactly is an abstract? From From journal and university perspective, an abstract is a concise summary of an entire research study. It typically ranges from 150 to 300 words, depending on the university guidelines, journal requirements, or conference specification. An abstract provides a snapshot of one, the problem investigated, the objective of the study, the methodology used, the findings obtained, the conclusion, and the implication of those findings. The abstract should allow a reader to understand the essence of the study without reading the full document. So think of it this way. If your entire thesis is around, let's say, 300 pages long, the abstract is the 300-word advertisement that persuades readers to invest time in those 300 pages. That is why abstract writing should never be treated as an afterthought. Most times, the best period to write the abstract is after you've concluded your own research study. You've concluded the research study from introduction to conclusion. So that is the best time to write your abstract, because your abstract is the summary of your whole research study. Then the abstract writing process. When should you write the abstract? One of the most common mistakes among students is attempting to write the abstract before completing the study. This approach often produces vague and inaccurate abstracts. The abstract should be written last. Why? Because you cannot accurately summarize what has not yet been fully completed. A practical process in writing an abstract are: one, the first step is complete the entire research report or research study. Review each chapter or section, then extract the most important points. Identify major findings, then construct the abstract using the standard framework, which is the BOMRC framework for writing abstracts. Then revise for clarity. Then remember, the abstract appears first in the document but should be written last. Types of abstracts. There are two major types of abstracts, and the first one is structured abstracts. The second one is unstructured abstracts. So structured abstracts contains explicit headings. So this is broken down into explicit or label sections mandated by the publisher. If you look at some journals, you'll see that some journals or higher institution always have a format for writing abstracts, and those formats always have a subheadings, and the subheadings usually centered around purpose, design or methodology, findings, implications, then originality of the work. And this type of structured abstract is peculiar to those that are in management or healthcare, engineering, and applied science journals. They usually use this format. And the advantage is it brings clarity to the study. By using each heading, you'll be able to the reader should be or the reviewer should be able to identify each purpose that relates to abstract. Then the second type is the unstructured abstract. An unstructured abstract contains the same information but is written as a single paragraph. No subheadings are used. So the difference between structured and unstructured abstract is that in structured abstract, you each section is clearly written out with subheadings, while unstructured abstracts is just like a paragraph. So there is no subheading. All the subheadings are written as a one paragraph or as a page. So you won't see any headings like that. You won't see any headings that identify what the purpose is, what the findings is, what the methodology, or what the conclusion is. So this format is common in finance, economics, accounting, and social sciences. Although the formatting differs, the underlying content remains the same. Both formats, which is the structured and unstructured, must communicate the background, objective, methodology, results, and conclusions. So, the anatomy of abstracts. The concept of writing an abstract is universal based on the BOMRC concept, in which B stands for background, and it talks to why does this matter. Then the objective or purpose is why did you do or how did you do it. Then methods and approach talks to how did you do your research. Then the result and findings tells us about what numbers or themes did you uncover. What exactly is your result? Does your results align with your objective? Then the conclusion, which is C, stand for conclusion. This framework ensures completeness and logical flow. Then let us examine each component. And the first component of the BOMRC framework is the background. The background highlights the research problem and the research area. So when you want to write the background, just use one or two sentences to summarize what the research study is all about and the research problem. So the template, this is the template for writing the background section of the abstract. Most times your background section must show what the research study is all about and what the research problem is. So this is an example of the template, and this is an example of an abstract from a background section from an abstract. So if you look at it, in the Nigerian banking industry, where product offerings are largely homogeneous, customer service quality remains a critical source of competitive advantage. So this is the research study area. Then the research problem is now, although artificial intelligence is expected to enhance service efficiency, personalization, and operational performance, its adoption in Nigeria banks has been constrained by low customer acceptance and uneven staff adaptation. So, your background in your abstract, your background section should highlight what your research problem is and what your research area is all about. Then we go to the next framework, which is the objective. The objective explains the purpose of the study. It answers the questions. What exactly did the researcher investigate? So this is a useful template. You can see the study aimed or sought to do this and this. So from our example, this study investigates the interplay between AI implementation, staff adaptation, and customer acceptance in customer service delivery using First Bank Nigeria Limited as a case study. So the next framework is the methodology. The methodology section summarizes how the research was carried out, highlighting the type of study, the data type, data source, dependent and independent variable, and the regression method used. And this should be well written in a way that at least you should use 2 to 3 sentences to bring out what's the summary of your methodology. So this is the template, and this is a typical example. So the next framework is the results. So this is arguably the most important section of the abstract. Many researchers devote 60% of the abstract to background and methodology and only 10% to findings. This is a serious mistake. Readers are interested primarily in what you discovered. The results section should occupy approximately 35% to 40% of the abstract. So instead of saying the study found significant relationship, you should be specific as to what the study actually discovered. And from the example I highlighted there, you can see that the findings reveal that AI implementation significantly improve customers service delivery by enhancing transaction speed, convenience, accuracy, and overall service satisfaction. So this shows what exactly the results of the study is all about. Then the next section is the conclusion. So this the conclusions answer the question, so what? Why do these findings matters? What contribution does the study make? And what practical implication emerges? So this is the template for it, and this is a typical example too. Then the next is common errors in writing and abstract. Let us discuss the mistakes that frequently lead to rejection. And the first error is too much background, overloading the abstract with background studies. Then the second one is picking the wrong keyword synchronization. Most people, when writing their abstract, the keywords in the abstract usually is not really related or is not synchronized to the body, to the main writing of the research study. Then the third common error is never include standard text, citation, or references. So in your abstract, never include or do any citation in your abstract. Then also in your abstract, never use acronyms without defining them first. The third one is never reference figure, tables, or chapter from the main text. Then ensure your objective and methodology are in the past tense. Also ensure your primary research keywords appear naturally at least twice within the abstract text block. This talks to in your in your keywords, at least two of your keywords should appear in the main body of the abstract. Then this is an example of a structured abstract sample. You can see this is the heading for purpose, methodology, findings, conclusion. Then the next slide talks to a sample of unstructured abstract sample. So you can see there is no heading here. Everything is written as a one page or one paragraph abstract. Then the next is keyword selection. After abstract comes the keyword selection. Many researchers underestimate the importance of keywords. Keywords determine whether your paper is discoverable online. Academic search engines operate through indexing algorithm, and this algorithm analyze the title, abstract, and keywords. So poor keywords reduce visibility, strong keywords increase discoverability and citation. So when you are selecting your keywords is very, very important and is the tool that determines the discoverability of your work or your study on the search engine. So when you are picking keywords, pick keywords that are relevant to the study, and don't pick keywords that have been generally used or popular keywords that it's already saturated on the search engine. Then how to pick the right keywords. Do not simply copy words from your title. Expand your discovery network. One, do not pick the same words in your title as keywords. Your research title has been indexed already. Hence, picking the same words in the research title will limit the algorithm. Most students or most researchers, they do this mistake of picking keywords in the research title and using it as keywords. Normally, the indexing of journal on all these search engines follows from title, abstract, and keywords. So you repeating the words in the title as keywords is like you are limiting the capability of algorithm to search your study on the web engine. Then the next one is target your keywords in relation to three layers of academic discovery. Most times keywords, most journals or most institution requires that keywords should be like 5 to 6 keywords. And for easy discoverability online or on search engine, structure your 6 keywords in these three layers. One, from the theoretical lens, look at the theory that your study anchored on. So pick 1 or 2 theories as keywords. Then look at the methodological toolkit, the methodology that you used for the study. So pick 2 words pertaining to the methodology. Then also the contextual or sector niche. So look at the context of the study. Look at the research study area. Pick two pick 2 keywords that resonate with each distinct layer. Then the next slide is academic SEO rules. So search engines. SEO means search engine optimization. And when you do your research study, most journals or higher institution will put your study online. So these are the rules that you should follow if you want the search engine to recognize your study or your work. Number one, never use general words or isolated words. Use keywords researchers actually search for. So don't use general words. There are some general words that are very generic for an algorithm to detect. Hence, the reason why your article does not feature at the top of search engines. Then match controlled vocabularies. Some journals have JEL codes for all the broad suspects or topics in the world. So this helps in identifying keywords pertaining to the study. Most journals they have a gel classification code, and this gel classification code is like a code to different subject or expertise areas. So make sure that you pick relevant codes that relate to your study, because this is one of the criteria that SEO used in making your work discoverable online. Then another one is test your knowledge via the reverse search test. Whatever keywords you agree to use, do a back end research on the web to see if you get results relevant to your research study topic. And what this says is that once you've finalized the keywords that you want to use, put these keywords on the web search engine like Google Scholar, Semantic Scholar, or ResearchGate. So use these keywords to search for relevant papers that are related to those keywords. And if the search engine gives you relevant papers, so that means your keyword is okay and is keyword that is discoverable online. Then synchronize with abstract density. Ensure that the keywords you explicitly list at the front of your paper appear naturally 2 to 3 times within the body of your abstract text. And what this says is that any keyword, at least the keywords you are using, should appear in the main text of the abstract like 2 to 3 times, because the indexing logic to algorithm start from the title, the abstract, and the keywords. So ensure that at least out of the 6 keywords, make sure that 2 out of the keywords appear like 2 or 3 times in the main text of the abstract. Algorithm measure keyword density to verify that your paper is genuinely about those tagged concepts. Then assignment. So you can take this as a take home assignment. Download 10 articles from journals relating to your field. Study and identify the abstract type to know whether it's a structured or unstructured abstract. Also, use the BOMRC framework to write an abstract on any topic. Then use the keywords to do a reverse search on the web search engine. So thank you for your time. This is my personal profile. So thank you for your time. So at Bralos EdTech, we are always here for you for anything pertaining to your academic and research work. So you can always contact us. Thank you.